Ancient Egypt, a land of golden sands, towering pyramids, and the life-giving Nile. For millennia, this civilization flourished. At its heart stood the pharaoh, the central pillar of Egyptian society. They were the bridge between the mortal world and the divine. From colossal statues to golden masks, their presence is undeniable. These rulers built temples and cities that continue to awe us. Each pharaoh left their mark on this land. Their duty was to maintain cosmic order. This immense responsibility placed them at the center of Egyptian life. We will look beyond the treasures and monuments to understand the person behind the crown. Join me as we travel into the heart of ancient Egypt to reveal the lives and legacy of the pharaohs. The pharaoh's authority was absolute, rooted in divine kingship. They were believed to be the living incarnation of Horus, the falcon-headed god of the sky. This gave them a sacred status, setting them above all mortals. They were the intermediary, speaking with deities on behalf of humanity. Their divine nature was reinforced in every aspect of their lives. By the new kingdom, the pharaoh was seen as the son of Amun-Ra. Challenging the pharaoh was challenging the gods themselves. They were human, yet worshipped as a god, a political leader and high priest. Understanding this divine status unlocks the nature of their power. To comprehend the pharaoh, we must examine the tools used to project their authority. Their power was visible through regalia, symbols, and ceremonies. Each item was a powerful emblem of divine kingship. The Neem's headcloth, the false beard, the crook and flail identified the wearer as the ruler of Egypt. Among the most important symbols were the crowns, each with a specific purpose: the Hedjet of Upper Egypt and the Deshret of Lower Egypt. Together they formed the Pshent, a symbol of the pharaoh's role as unifier. Other crowns, like the Keprish, were worn in battle. Another potent symbol was the uraeus, the rearing cobra, an emblem of divine protection. These symbols were a constant reminder of the pharaoh's unique status, reinforcing cosmic order. These symbols were the very essence of power, transforming a mortal into a divine ruler. The word pharaoh conjures images of immense power and the mystique of ancient Egypt. Yet the origin of this famous word is perhaps simpler than one might expect. It started with a building. The term comes from the Egyptian phrase, which translates literally to great house. In the early days, this referred not to the ruler, but to the royal palace where the state was administered. When an ancient Egyptian spoke of the great house, they were talking about the institution of kingship and the seat of royal power. It was the powerful entity that surrounded and supported the king, the very machinery of the state itself. The journey of the term pharaoh is a story about the changing nature of Egyptian monarchy. The shift in meaning from the palace to the person was a slow and subtle process, but it marked a profound change in Egyptian society. It was during the glorious and imperial age of the New Kingdom, particularly around the reign of Akhenaten in the mid-14th century BCE, that this evolution became complete. By this time, the ruler's personal power and divine status had reached such an incredible height that the distinction between the institution and the individual began to blur. The king was no longer just in the great house. He was the great house. The power of the state and the power of the monarch became so intertwined that they were seen as one and the same. This was the era of legendary rulers like Thutmose III, the great warrior pharaoh, and Amenhotep III, who presided over a period of unprecedented prosperity and artistic splendor. These kings were not distant symbolic figures, they were celebrated public personalities whose influence was felt everywhere. They commanded vast armies, controlled an empire that stretched from Nubia to Syria, and were worshipped as living gods on an unparalleled scale. As the personal prestige of the king grew, it became natural to start referring to him using the term for the seat of his immense power. The phrase, "the great house decrees," slowly morphed into a direct address to the supreme ruler himself. This linguistic shift is documented in the historical records of the time. Diplomatic letters, such as the famous Amarna letters, show foreign rulers beginning to address the Egyptian king as Pharaoh. Within Egypt itself, the term started appearing in official documents, literature, and popular speech as a respectful and direct form of address for the monarch. It became a convenient shorthand, a powerful and all-encompassing title that captured the king's role as the absolute head of the civil, religious, and military administration. The palace had, in essence, been personified in the living, breathing form of the king on the throne. This change highlights a key development in the ideology of divine kingship. While pharaohs had always been considered divine, the new kingdom saw an intensification of this belief. The ruler was increasingly portrayed as an all-powerful, all-encompassing figure, the sole source of stability and prosperity for the empire. By adopting the name of the palace, the pharaoh absorbed its institutional authority directly into his personal identity. He was no longer just the chief resident. He was the living embodiment of the entire state apparatus, a fusion of man, God, and government that was unique in the ancient world. Today, we use the word pharaoh for all ancient Egyptian kings, even though the title only became common in the New Kingdom. This modern usage helps us talk about thousands of years of Egyptian rulers with a single, recognizable term. Figures like Khufu or Senusret III were never called pharaohs in their own time, but the label unites their legacy. The term's popularity grew thanks to its use in the Hebrew Bible, and it stuck in Western culture. While technically anachronistic, pharaoh now represents the enduring power and tradition of Egyptian kingship. The word itself has become as timeless as the monuments these rulers left behind. Pharaoh now means more than just king. It embodies absolute authority and divine right. The pharaoh was seen as the upholder of Ma'at, the cosmic order, with every action carrying universal consequences. His commands were divine mandates, his wars holy, his laws the will of the gods. The title fused sacred and secular power, making the pharaoh the foundation of Egyptian civilization. Without him, Egypt's order would collapse. The name Pharaoh endures as a symbol of lost majesty and divine rule. Even today it evokes a world of timeless authority. The pharaoh's most vital role was religious. He was the chief priest of every temple in Egypt. Though he couldn't perform every ritual himself, priests acted as his representatives, reinforcing his divine connection. Temple art always shows the pharaoh making offerings, symbolizing his unique link to the gods. His religious duties were believed to ensure the Nile's flooding and Egypt's prosperity. To defy the pharaoh was to risk cosmic chaos, as his authority was both sacred and absolute. His building projects were acts of devotion, securing divine favor for Egypt. The pharaoh's spiritual leadership made his power unquestionable. The pharaoh was Egypt's supreme military leader, often leading armies into battle himself. Victories brought wealth and reinforced his divine right to rule. Art depicted him as a mighty warrior, protector of Egypt, and champion of order. Military success was seen as proof of the god's favor. His wars were framed as battles for cosmic balance, not just political gain. The pharaoh's role as both high priest and general defined his unique authority. As the living embodiment of Ma'at, the pharaoh was the ultimate source of law and justice. All legal authority flowed from him, and his decrees were considered divine. The vizier, his chief minister, managed the courts but answered directly to the king. The pharaoh's judgments maintained social harmony and prevented chaos. Justice was seen as a sacred duty, reinforcing the king's legitimacy. A just pharaoh was a successful ruler, earning loyalty and stability. The legal system existed to uphold the pharaoh's vision of order. The pharaoh was also Egypt's chief economic manager, owning all land and resources in theory. He oversaw a vast bureaucracy that collected taxes in goods and labor, powering the state. State projects, from temples to irrigation, relied on this system. The pharaoh managed granaries to prevent famine and unrest, acting as provider for his people. He directed trade expeditions, enriching Egypt and strengthening foreign ties. His control over land, labor, and trade made him the engine of Egypt's prosperity. The pharaoh's economic power was as absolute as his spiritual and political authority. The pharaoh's authority was instantly visible through crowns and headdresses, each a powerful symbol. The hedjet, or white crown, symbolized rule over Upper Egypt. The deshret, or red crown, represented authority over Lower Egypt. The pshent, the double crown, combined both, declaring the pharaoh as ruler of a unified nation. The kepresh, or blue crown, was worn in battle. The Nemes headcloth, made famous by Tutankhamun's mask, identified the wearer as king. Beyond crowns, the pharaoh held royal sceptres, symbols of rule. The heqa sceptre, a shepherd's crook, represented the pharaoh's role as protector of his people. Paired with the nekaka flail, they symbolized both guidance and authority. The waz sceptre, with its animal head, represented power and dominion, linking the pharaoh to the gods. These sceptres, instruments of kingship, appear throughout Egyptian art. Together, they embody the ideal Egyptian ruler, a leader of guidance, authority, and divine legitimacy. Fixed to the brow of almost every royal crown and headdress was the uraeus, one of the most powerful symbols of pharaonic power. This emblem took the form of an upright rearing cobra, poised as if ready to strike. It was a potent symbol of divine protection and royal legitimacy. The uraeus represented the goddess Wadjet, the ancient patron deity of Lower Egypt. As a protector, she was believed to be a fierce force, spitting fire at anyone who dared to threaten the king. The presence of the uraeus on the pharaoh's brow served as a constant, active magical ward. It was a divine bodyguard that transformed the king's headdress into a weapon, reinforcing the king's sacred status. The uraeus was also a symbol of legitimacy, an exclusive symbol of royalty. Only the rightful king was permitted to wear it, making it an undeniable marker of a legitimate ruler. Despite countless depictions of crowns and sceptres, a fascinating mystery remains. Not a single royal crown has ever been found. While we have discovered treasures like Tutankhamun's daggers, the primary symbols of the king's office have vanished. The most probable explanation is that the regalia were state or temple property, not personal possessions passed down in coronation rituals. If passed down for millennia, they could have been lost to history, destroyed by invaders or melted down. Their disappearance keeps them in the realm of symbols forever preserved in art, powerful ideas of unity and divine authority. A pharaoh was more than just a person, they were an institution. By the Middle Kingdom, this was standardized into 5 great names known as the royal titulary. This convention was a profound statement of royal ideology. The first was the Horus name, the oldest title, adopted at accession. It was written in a seric, representing a palace facade. This identified the king as the living embodiment of Horus. The second was the Nepti name, linking the pharaoh to protector goddesses. Nekhbet of Upper Egypt and Wadjet of Lower Egypt. The pharaoh maintained the balance between the two halves of the country. Finally, the Golden Horus name, the prenomen and the nomen. The Golden Horus name represents the pharaoh's divinity. The prenomen and nomen were most commonly used. Together, these names defined the pharaoh as a divine and legitimate ruler. The cartouche, an oval shape encircling a pharaoh's name, is iconic. Known to ancient Egyptians as a symbol of everything the sun encircled, it contained the prenomen, the throne name, and the nomen, the birth name. For example, Tutankhamun's prenomen, Nebkheperua, meant the lordly manifestation of Ra. His nomen, Tutankhamun, meant the living image of Amun. The cartouche was believed to protect the king's name, essential to his soul. Found on monuments and funerary objects, cartouches ensured the king's eternal existence. Beyond the formal titles, pharaohs used other powerful epithets woven into inscriptions. These constantly reinforced the king's supreme status and divine nature, part of a specialized language of authority. Simple terms like meaning king were often accompanied by elaborate phrases. Common epithets included Lord of the Two Lands and Ruler. Pharaohs were regularly called the perfect god, signifying the king was a junior deity. This language of power maintained the pharaonic system, creating an aura of divinity around the king. It reinforced that the king was divine, the source of justice, and his rule sanctioned by the gods. These titles were the linguistic building blocks of the pharaoh's power. At the core of the pharaoh's power was the belief he was not merely chosen by the gods, but a god himself. The king was believed to become the living incarnation of Horus, the falcon god. This made the pharaoh the essential intermediary between the mortal world and the divine plane. By the new kingdom, the king was identified as the son of Ra. Royal mythology told a story of divine conception, making the pharaoh's right to rule a matter of divine birthright. This dual identity as both the living Horus and the son of Ra created a ruler of unparalleled status. This meant that to question the pharaoh was to question the will of the gods. The king's position was sacred, absolute, and unchallengeable. The divinity of the pharaoh was constantly reinforced. In official inscriptions, he was referred to as Ntr, the good god. This distinguished him from the eternal gods, acknowledging he was a deity alive in the mortal world. He was the accessible divinity the people could see, a tangible link to the powers that governed the universe. As the good god, the pharaoh's actions had cosmic significance, maintaining the balance of the universe. The king's life was a continuous religious performance, a manifestation of the divine on earth. The king was a powerful living god whose favor was essential for their survival. The pharaoh was the source of life and prosperity. Ankh Wedja Seneb, life, prosperity, health. As a god on earth, he was the fountainhead from which all the good things of the world flowed. The concept of divine kingship proved to be one of the most enduring pillars of Egyptian civilization. It was a system so powerful that it survived for over 3,000 years, adapting to political upheavals and even the rule of foreigners. When outsiders conquered Egypt, they adopted the institution of the divine pharaoh. To rule effectively, they had to become Egyptian and step into the role of the god-king. The Persian kings were depicted on temples in pharaonic regalia, making offerings to Egyptian gods. They took on pharaonic titles and presented themselves within the framework of divine kingship. Even the Roman emperors continued the practice, understanding that to secure Egypt's resources, they had to maintain the cosmic order. The endurance of this belief demonstrates its fundamental importance. In ancient Egyptian society, the pharaoh was the central loom upon which the entire fabric was woven. Every aspect of life was connected to the king, the sun around which the Egyptian world revolved. This central position was a profound social and psychological reality. The well-being of the pharaoh was synonymous with the well-being of the kingdom, creating national unity. The pharaoh's presence was felt everywhere. This served as a daily reminder of his divine status and role as protector. This deep-seated faith fostered a stable and cohesive society for millennia. Each person had their role in maintaining the harmony of the universe, united in service to the living God. This gave Egyptian society a powerful sense of identity and collective responsibility. Loyalty to the pharaoh was as natural as loyalty to one's own family. In the minds of the Egyptian people, their king was the guarantor of their existence. Their world was simply unimaginable without him at its very heart. The pharaoh was the central driver of the Egyptian economy. All land and resources belonged to the king, giving him ultimate control over the nation's wealth. This immense power allowed him to direct labor and marshal resources. This system powered the grandest achievements, from the pyramids to vast armies. Agriculture was the primary source of wealth, meticulously managed by the pharaoh's administration. Scribes surveyed fields, assessed harvests, and levied taxes. This system of redistribution was the foundation of the Egyptian state. Beyond agriculture, the pharaoh directed major industrial and trade activities, controlling mines, quarries, and workshops. The king sponsored foreign trade expeditions, enriching the state treasury. The king's economic control shaped the social structure, creating a highly organized society dependent on the throne. The pharaoh's breathtaking legacy remains in stone and gold. Driven by a desire for eternal life and divine power, they became the greatest builders the world had ever seen. The pyramids of Giza, Karnak, the Valley of the Kings, and Abu Simbel are direct expressions of pharaonic will. These monuments were statements of power, theology, and permanence. The treasures of Tutankhamun give us a glimpse into the pharaoh's immense wealth in life and death. Gold, with its sun-like brilliance, was considered the flesh of the gods. This legacy has shaped our perception of ancient Egypt. Their architectural and artistic legacy remains a powerful monument to their central role in shaping a remarkable culture. For thousands of years, these ancient kings have continued to exert a powerful pull on the human imagination. The decipherment of hieroglyphs unlocked their world, transforming them from mythical figures into historical personalities. The discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb propelled this fascination to a global scale. The treasures brought the world of the pharaohs to life, symbols of a lost golden age. Our enduring fascination is fueled by the profound questions the pharaohs represent. They embody the ultimate expression of absolute power and the desire to conquer death. Ultimately, the pharaohs continue to fascinate us because they represent a world that is both recognizably human and yet profoundly alien. This unique fusion of the worldly and the divine makes them endlessly compelling. As our journey down the Nile draws to a close, we see the pharaoh as the central pillar of ancient Egyptian civilization. For over 3,000 years, this unique kingship provided stability, allowing a remarkable culture to flourish. The pharaoh was high priest, supreme general, chief justice, and divine manager, woven into absolute authority. This fusion of sacred and secular created a powerful blueprint for rule. The pharaoh guaranteed ma'at, truth and justice, would prevail. His rituals sustained the gods, laws maintained harmony, and armies protected the land. The entire nation upheld divine order, with the pharaoh as chief architect, the double crown unified, the crook and flail guided, and the uraeus protected. These symbols transformed a mortal into a god on earth. The pharaoh was the personification of the state, the bridge between human and divine. This concentration of power created a civilization of ambition and longevity, a testament to timeless rule. The legacy of the pharaohs has followed a fascinating path, moving from historical reality into the realm of myth, only to be rediscovered and understood once more. For centuries, after the last Roman emperor ceased to be depicted as a pharaoh, the true nature of these rulers was lost, shrouded in the tales of Greek historians and the biblical narrative. They became larger-than-life figures, despotic builders of impossible monuments or nameless tyrants in scripture. Their civilization's secrets were locked away behind the enigmatic veil of hieroglyphs, their voices silenced by the shifting sands of time. The pharaohs were legends, not people, their world a land of mystery and magic. The key that unlocked this lost world was the Rosetta Stone, which allowed Jean-François Champollion to crack the code of hieroglyphs in the early 19th century. This singular achievement was a turning point. Suddenly, the stones began to speak. The names of kings like Rameses, Thutmose and Akhenaten could be read, and their stories, their triumphs and their beliefs could be understood in their own words. Archaeology began the process of pulling the pharaohs out of the realm of myth and placing them firmly back into history. Each new excavation, each translated papyrus, added another layer of detail, revealing the complex individuals behind the golden masks. Then came the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922. This single event catapulted the pharaohs into the center of modern popular culture. The breathtaking treasures brought the abstract wealth and power of the kings into sharp, glittering focus. The story of the boy king, combined with the romance and adventure of archaeological discovery, created a new modern myth. The pharaoh became a symbol of untold riches, ancient curses, and the allure of the unknown. This romantic image, while not always historically accurate, has ensured that the pharaohs hold a permanent and cherished place in the global imagination, sparking the curiosity of millions. Today, our understanding of the pharaohs exists in a balance between history and this enduring fascination. Scholars continue to piece together the intricate details of their reigns, revealing the political, economic and social realities of their world. Yet the pharaohs retain their mythic quality. They represent the ultimate expression of human ambition, the desire to conquer death, and the power of belief to shape a civilization. They are historical figures we can study, but also timeless symbols that continue to inspire wonder. It is this dual nature, a blend of verifiable fact and profound mystery that makes their stories so endlessly compelling. So, why do the pharaohs still matter? They matter because they represent one of humanity's most successful and long-lived experiments in governance and social organization. For 3 millennia, a period of time that dwarfs the history of most modern nations, the institution of the pharaoh provided a stable and cohesive center for an entire civilization. Their ability to unite a nation under a single divine authority, to mobilize a population for monumental tasks, and to create a culture of such profound beauty and complexity offers us timeless lessons about leadership, faith, and the enduring power of a shared vision. The world they built continues to stand as a testament to their ambition. The pyramids, temples, and tombs they left behind are not just crumbling ruins, they are a direct link to our distant past. Physical proof of the incredible potential of human ingenuity and collective effort. When we stand before the Great Pyramid or walk through the hypostyle hall at Karnak, we are connecting with the legacy of these rulers. Their work has survived the rise and fall of empires, a permanent fixture in the human story. They challenge our modern sense of what is possible and remind us that the desire to leave a mark on the world is a powerful and ancient human drive. The pharaohs also hold up a mirror to our own time. In an age often defined by division and rapid change, their world offers a vision of unity and permanence. Their authority was rooted in a concept that is, frankly, alien to us, divine kingship, yet their goals were familiar. They sought to create a just society, to protect their people from harm, and to ensure the prosperity of their nation. Studying them allows us to explore the fundamental questions of power, governance, and the role of belief in society from a completely different perspective, enriching our understanding of the human experience across the ages. In the end, the secrets of the pharaohs are not just about golden treasures or hidden tombs. The true secret is how a single idea, the idea of a god-king, could inspire a civilization to achieve such greatness and to endure for so long. The pharaoh was the heart of Egypt, and their legacy is the story of humanity's unending quest for order in a chaotic universe, for meaning in a finite life, and for an immortality that could be etched in stone and memory. They were the timeless rulers of the Nile, and their extraordinary story will continue to captivate and inspire us for generations to come.